We're live on StreamYard and we're live on the radio in 5, 4, 3.
And we are back, folks, here on the Michigan Insider Sports Talk 1050 WTKA, online at WTKA.com. Sam Webb, Mr. Ira Weintraub, and the MGoBlog Roundtable. We do every Thursday at 9 o'clock hour. We are live on location at UTech IT. You got to understand, you have IT needs anywhere in Southeast Michigan. This is the place to go. This is also a haven for Michigan fans. For haters of Ohio State, if you hate Ohio State, you should be at UTech IT. Because everyone at UTech IT hates Ohio State, including Kevin Van Cannell. Kevin Van Cannell, who was born and raised an Ohio State fan, has spurned the Buckeyes. And he finally started seeing the light about 5 or 6 years ago. And he took a beating from his fellow Buckeyes until the tide finally turned. And now every chance he gets, he talks about how dirty and how scummy the Buckeyes are. You talk about jubilance and excitement. Kevin Van Cannell was so excited that Tony Alford was coming to the University of Michigan. I mean, he knew about it almost as long as I did. He wanted Tony Alford to steal all the secrets. He wanted Tony Alford to be in practice, getting all of Chip Kelly's offense, stay there just long enough to get the install and the signals so he could come to Ann Arbor and bring all that to Ann Arbor. Now, Buckeyes, I'm kind of joking. Kind of joking about that. Just to let you know, Kevin Van Cannell, he's now on our team here at the up here in Ann Arbor at the University of Michigan. Welcome, you guys. I had to, pay homage to UTech for hosting us. Let me show you this bank of TVs real quick. Let me see if I can turn this around so you can see what the scene is like. That's Kevin Van Cannell right there, by the way. He loves Michigan. And then if you can see this big bank. Can you see the big bank of TVs? You see that?
I can.
That big wall? You see that big wall? That's 9 televisions all synced up. And when the tournament starts, we get a chance to see different games on all the different screens. It is an amazing, amazing place to take in the tournament action as I bring things back around here. So, fellas, good morning. How are you?
Morning. Looks like my garage. I only want to have 9, probably 4 or 5 up. But the I got a completely, of course, extraneous question for you guys. Robert Palmer was addicted to love. I am addicted to late night TV infomercials. And the other night I saw Billy Mays. I thought, is Billy Mays still alive? I thought someone has got to send us an. He's not. Well, how come I saw him doing a late night TV infomercial, Ira, like 3 nights ago?
Maybe it's something. The only thing I can think, honestly, the only thing I can think, by the way, Seth, or Craig, because we're going by wrong names apparently, is that this was something pre-recorded and they decided to effort, or they found a way to recreate.
They're bringing
or you're watching a video cassette recording.
So
we have these things called video cassettes. Sam, Craig.
That guy could sell anything.
Are we all just switching names?
I know. He's one of my heroes. Billy Mays is one of my heroes. And I thought he was dead. And here he is in my face at like 1:30. And I woke my wife up and she says, "Why are you waking me up?" I said, "Because Billy Mays is really alive. There's hope for all of us."
They just went back into the archives because that guy can even sell things from the grave. What is it, like that orange glow stuff that he would sell? And then that adhesive, like he sells.
That's what it was, some adhesive thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sure people are really happy to hear about this.
Well, people are really happy to hear about. Michigan fans are really happy to hear about you. You don't root for the demise of anyone, but I think the majority of Michigan fans are ready for a change in Michigan basketball. And there was a chance for Juwan Howard, and it ultimately was decided, though, as they sat down for the one-on-one, that the path forward would be a path with a new coach. And so that brings us to another discussion now, because we've already rehashed what we thought of the season, what we thought of the tenure. Now it's about looking ahead, and what do you think the Wolverines, or who you think the Wolverines should be targeting? So, I guess we could start with you, Craig. I don't know if you've already identified the coach you want, or the character traits in the coach that you want? But who are you looking at? What are you looking at?
Well, on a sort of more ordinary pedestrian path, my number one choice right now is Brian Earl, who I don't think I've seen anyone mention. He's the head coach at Cornell. He played at Princeton. His brother played at Penn State. And I watched them play, speaking of Ohio State 2 nights ago in the NIT. And Ohio State, which had, of course, twice the talent minimum and size that Cornell has. But that was a last second game. And Cornell put up, I don't know, 85, 86 points. And it's the most fun team to watch I've seen all year. They play Loyola Marymount with all the backdoor cutting of Princeton. It's a combination of Paul Westhead and Pete Carroll. And it is fun. And it's a good coach. They know what they're doing. And that's who I want. Now, on a more sort of ordinary track, and I'm not sure this is really ordinary. I think I've told the story in the past that John Orr had volunteered to coach Michigan for free when they got rid of Steve Fisher, and Michigan completely blew him off. He said, "Hey, I'll coach the team for a year for free, and I'll find a good young coach to come in and follow me." And I thought that was a very cool idea that was not really reported except in my first book, and I talked to Orr about it. Now, I'm not suggesting we bring John Orr back. I am suggesting that it might be okay to bring John Beilein back for a year or two. I've heard some rumors that while he will not apply for it, obviously, but if they did the old Spike Lee on him, that he might do it for a year or two and then transition into a new younger coach. And that new younger coach for me, Eli Brooks. I know he's playing right now in Italy. Have Beilein bring Eli Brooks back as the assistant coach. And I mean, how well did Michigan do in those 5 years of Eli? And wasn't he generally considered the sort of coach off the floor? Didn't everybody tell us that? And didn't it seem to be almost true? And so I say a Beilein Eli duo with Eli becoming ready to do it. Those are my top two
and Mikey
choices.
Samersville for defensive backs coach too, right?
And that's fine. He can be defensive coordinator. But he probably wants to play in the NFL. He probably could. So those are my two choices. I know Brian made a push last week, I think, for Nico Medved.
Hey,
and
so I got to show you guys something. So Kevin Van Cannell, he just got his new. You know how you put the little things in the grate of the urinals. So he just made these. The urinal. He just made these his new urinal cake at UTech IT. So you can pee all over this at UTech IT, by the way. Just so you know, I'm holding up a picture of an Ohio State insignia. This is what you can do at UTech IT, by the way. Gotta love it, right? Gotta love it. All right.
So Nico Medved, the third one. I mean, I liked what I saw out of his coaching the other night against Virginia, but I want to wait and see what he looks like against Texas, because Virginia is the worst team that ever made it into the NCAA tournament. I never saw such a pathetic
they shouldn't have been in
entry. They had no right being in the tournament.
Right.
I mean, for certain, St. John's is a better team, and should have been in ahead of Virginia. So too Indiana State. So that that was a travesty. So we'll see on Brian's boy Nico.
Yeah. So listen. First of all, Virginia, as much as I appreciate Nico Medved, he's Beilein like, and it's not surprising. Like if you talk to coaches, coaches who know Nico Medved, he's like, hey, man, he would talk to John Beilein all the time, kind of calling him about his offense and exchanging ideas and that kind of thing. So you see some elements of John Beilein there. There was nothing I saw in that Virginia game that impressed me, though. And that's not about Colorado State as much as it is about Virginia. They had no business being in the NCAA tournament. What it says to me is the committee. I think you got to have a balance of analytics and your basketball eye. And it's like they didn't watch Virginia. They didn't. All of those Big East teams that got spurned, if you watch them the last month of the season and you watch Virginia the last month of the season, there's no way you come back saying Virginia is better than any of those teams. Now, the analytics might tell you they deserve more than any of those Big East teams, but the eyeball test absolutely didn't. And I was not surprised at all that Virginia got bum rushed in that game. So,
well, their analytics weren't that great. They were number 67 on KenPom. They're number 73 now. And there were numerous teams higher than number 67 that did not make the tournament.
They kept talking about the numbers.
I'm talking about the numbers because that's what
I'm saying the committee kept talking about the numbers.
Well, they're deranged then, because the numbers don't justify it either. So.
There is a degree. I'm too bad Brian's not here because this is a big thing for him.
Mm-hmm.
If you use stats, we were very early adopters of KenPom, and we talk about them all the time. But what they will tell you is who would win a game if they played today. Just like it was the argument over Alabama versus Florida State, right? Most people agreed if Alabama and Florida State played each other to get into the playoff, Alabama was going to win, right? And then after the game, they're like, I don't want to complain that we played Alabama, but I thought Florida State deserved to get in. You play the games. What the outcome should be should not matter as much as what the outcome was. In the end, we're playing a sport. The idea of a sport is to win, and winning should matter more than anything. So I don't mind if they talk net, because net actually uses winning a lot more. It vastly overplays winning. And it's not a good predictor of who's going to win any given game, but it is a good resume. And that's what you're doing. You're not looking for who's going to do better in turn, who's going to be a better out, who deserves to get in, who deserves their shot. Because once you deserve your shot, then you can do whatever you do to earn the next game, right? If you make 60% of your threes and you win and you get to move on, no one's going to say, well, we're not going to move that team on because it's not usual for a 33% team to hit 60% of their threes. You win the basketball game, you get to move on. And that is a thing that I think the NCAA has lost sight of. I think that's something that people who are talking stats have lost sight of. And we got to bring a little bit of this old-fashioned stuff back, man.
Incidentally, Virginia is number 211 in the country in offense, which is about half as good as Michigan. So there you go.
That to me, if you're looking at the numbers, why doesn't that put you out?
It should. That's what I mean.
That's why I say. I mean, why was anyone surprised that they couldn't score? They don't score. So anyway,
they're 322 from the inside the 3-point line. 322 out of 360.
Yeah.
Come on.
I don't get it. All right. So Seth, have you either the traits that you want in the next coach, or have you sort of identified like your top guys? Have you done that yet?
Yes. And the number one thing is I don't want LaVall Jordan, which was another name that kind of popped into our circle for a minute. And I was like, okay, what's going on here? And I figured out what I think was going on is that once again, Michigan fans went to the devil and said, we'll trade you our basketball program for another football national championship. And the devil finally he's cutting us off. I think like as of last night, it's like he did with Ohio State fans who kept on selling them his souls to beat Michigan, right? Like, okay, guys, look, the exchange rate is not right. You guys don't value your souls as much as most people do. I'm not going to make this deal anymore. Michigan fans, you cannot trade your basketball program for football wins anymore. I think we actually have some good names out there. And the two names that I've really been focused on. Yeah.
Where did I'm curious because I hadn't seen or heard Val's Like I think Val's a good coach.
Yeah.
I think Val's so. First of all, I mean, I like.
I don't
Val.
want him right now. I don't think he should be Michigan's next head coach, though.
Yeah, I haven't seen,
And,
but I have heard nothing
Okay.
to suggest that he's emerged as a candidate though. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think that might have been coming from Val's corner, possibly.
Okay.
But it was, but anyway, that freaked us out when we heard it. And we're like, no. But we're like, I like Nedved a lot. I think that the limits of his team. First of all, no one looks like they're going to look against Virginia. Virginia just ruins everybody. So that's like playing Iowa football and being like, I don't know if Michigan, JJ McCarthy can't throw the ball because he didn't play well against Iowa. Like, come on.
Let me interject for a second. This is just on your Val point though. What if Craig Ross?
Yes, I'm in for this. I know
what
you're
if
saying.
John Beilein came and said, "I'll come back for a year or two, with Val as my coach in waiting."
Yes,
and we will move the program ahead with me kind of ushering us back to what we had with Val taking over as my understudy after a year or two. What about that? I haven't heard that Michigan he had emerged as a candidate, but to your point about bringing John Beilein back, that would be more tenable than Eli Brooks.
Well, maybe, and I would be fine with that. I would be fine with a Beilein Laval. I mean, I love Laval. I thought he was a good coach here, fun guy to talk to, smart guy. I think he's a good coach, and in combination with Beilein for a year or two, I would love that idea.
And so yes, but to be clear, I've heard nothing to suggest that Val has emerged as a candidate.
I don't want that though. I want to move on to the next coach because it's a new era. It's you're going to have to recruit differently. You're going to have to build your team differently, and it takes time to build a good program in basketball now because you're not just going to be able to like grab a bunch of guys. Next year, Michigan basketball is going to be terrible. Period. And I don't want Beilein ruining his record and coaching a bad team and people not because when you have a bad coach, people don't buy in. What you got to do is bring in your young players now, recruit some guys that you're going to use. Fatty's hopefully we can hold on to that guy and develop them, right? Because next year it's a completely clean slate. I want to start on whatever we're going to be now. I like Nedved a lot. I think that the way that Isaiah Stevens stuck around tells you his players really, really like him. I think that there's kind of a vibe, like a Harbaugh program kind of vibe going on at CSU, and I want to bring that to basketball. Another guy who's just like that is DeVries at Drake. Another guy who's built his team out of parts that people really don't look at very much. He was a Creighton assistant for a long time, so if you wanted to go that route, you're not going to get him, but you can. He's someone who worked for a long time in that system and knows how to build a program. But that's what I want. I want someone who's going to come in and have a long-term plan, so that in 3 or 4 years from now, we can bring in a couple new players who are going to fit in specific roles, and everyone else is there, knows the system, knows how to play together, likes being together, and we have a culture.
Okay.
Well, sounds okay to me.
Well, my guy that I threw out a few weeks ago when we had this discussion, Dusty May. Dusty May has absolutely emerged as one of the top candidates for the job. I really like his pedigree, high major experience. Has obviously we know about his run last year. This year overcame some NC's University, changed to a new league. They had a tough non-conference schedule. I think that's what was able to vault them into the tournament. Excuse me, in a way that USF was not able to be vaulted. Home of another candidate for the job in Amir Abdur-Rahim. They actually beat Dusty's squad. They beat FAU during the regular season, won the league by 2 games, but their non-conference sunk them. Whereas FAU beat Arizona, FAU beat Texas A&M. So he's coached at Florida as an assistant. He's been all over the footprint. I like just all the different elements that he brings to the table. I find Amir Abdur-Rahim to be very intriguing. There are aspects of his program building that I think would, as much as of a Dusty May guy as I am, I can't minimize the appeal of some of the things that I hear about Amir Abdur-Rahim bringing to the table. So I don't think that, I wouldn't pick him over Dusty personally, but I get why you got people saying Amir's their guy. So
there are rumors, of course, that his first choice may be Louisville, and that's out there. Whether that's
first choice of Louisville or is Dusty's first choice?
Both.
No, well, I haven't heard that. I certainly Louisville is definitely up there, but I don't think the die has been cast in their direction, and it's an interesting sort of balance on his part. I mean, Louisville's a pure basketball school. Yeah. They're going to have all the resources allocated there, NIL and otherwise. Michigan, I think, is more like, as far as who he is as a coach and who he is as a guy, I just personally feel like Michigan is more aligned with that. That's not to say he won't coach Louisville if they came at him, but I could see, to me, Louisville is Will Wade. That's how I see. Like if they said Louisville is going to get Will Wade, I'd be like, okay, that fits. Yeah. Whereas I think Dusty fits Michigan more than he fits Louisville.
I think Dusty was hoping that they'd can Mike Woodson after 3 years. I think that's the job he really wants.
I think Indiana fans were hoping that too. Yeah. I think Indiana fans are hoping that too. So those are a couple of the names, but you had some good proxies, Brian, as Brian Cook joins us now. Nico Medved's your guy, right?
Yeah, I like Medved a lot. Like the top four to me are May, Abdur-Rahim, Nico Medved, and Darian DeVries at Drake. So I like Medved. I mean, if you watch that Virginia game, don't pay attention to the defensive performance they put up because that offense is awful. But that was number 7 defense in America. And Colorado State shot 64% from 2, and they missed a bunch of bunnies. And they had a bunch of shots altered because, Virginia has Ryan Dunn, who's going to be a first-round pick largely on his defensive abilities. And what I saw there was a great offensive structure, and when they didn't hit a 2, it was more of a talent issue than anything else, where they're starting a D2 guy at center. And so sometimes those finishes at the rim aren't going to be what you would expect. But I mean, Medved, he's been at Colorado State for 6 years. This is his second bid. He had a 6, of course, when Michigan beat him in a couple of years back. And he has a 21-point win over Creighton this year. He had a very strange first-round pick a couple years ago when Roddy, their 6'4" power forward, went in the first round of the NBA draft. And this year he's got 2 D2 transfers in his starting lineup. And that's what he's doing to Virginia. So for me, Nico Medved checks a lot of boxes. And, a lot of people are going to say, oh, he hasn't done anything in the tournament. I looked. There is nobody who has done anything in the tournament except Dusty May, who is available to Michigan right now. Like, either they've just changed jobs or they're at, Arizona, where Michigan is not going to poach a coach from, or they're clearly bad ideas. So, the desire to reboot a Beeline and get a guy who's been to the Elite Eight, who's been to the Sweet 16 in consecutive years, is I understand it, but it's not really possible right now. So what you're looking for is a guy who's had sustained success at a school that doesn't have a lot of advantages over the people they play, and you want it as high level as possible. And the Mountain West got 6 bids this year, right? And everybody was surprised by the committee, not giving them the proper respect. They got the 6 bids, but their seedings were all terrible. And, if you look at KenPom, they're essentially a high major conference. So if Nico Medved is able to take a program that does not have any historical advantages and virtually a Power 5 conference and get to the tourney 2 different times with 2 different sets of personnel, I mean, that looks like a pretty good track record to me.
It's a good those are good arguments. You know, I'll be interested to see tonight how they. I think it's tonight how they play against Texas and whether they can at least compete and look like a team.
Yeah, I mean, Nico Medved is very much a Beeline. He's not a direct disciple, but he is a Beeline sort of borrower. I mean, I think those two talk. I don't know that I could call. I don't know how close they are as friends, but I know that Beeline has been a resource for Nico Medved. So it's reminiscent. If you think about John Beeline when he comes in, I kind of talked about this last night, where he was like, when he got here, he was like, run a set, that doesn't work, run another set, that doesn't work, run another set. If you run into teams that can blow all that up, which as you get deeper, that's when it becomes a talent issue at that point, to your point. Well, where Beeline evolved is he got better players. He came in and got some more staff members. You mentioned Val and BA and those guys and augmented some things. Now we're going to come down, we're going to run our stuff. But if they blow it up, now we can spread you out and we can have guys who can go to work, Trey Burke, Nick Stauskas, and make things happen. So as you get more talent, you can mesh and meld in the way that Beeline did. Ball screen offense kind of came in vogue with him. All of a sudden, he had players that were better players. And I wonder if the same would be true with Nico Medved. The thing about Nico Medved, of all the names that we've talked about, his is the one name that I haven't heard inside yet. The other names I have heard. And with Darren DeVries, the thing that's interesting to me, really, really good coach. But if you're going to go for him, if you're going to go for the disciple, why not make a run at the teacher? Why not? Why not? What? No.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write about this today. I'm gonna write
I'm in for this. I'm
gonna write about this today. But why not kick the tires?
I mean, you can kick the tires. But the fact is, any coach that just signed an extension is probably not looking for another job. And Greg McDermott just signed another extension.
I know that,
and he says he wants to retire at Creighton, and I believe him.
Okay.
It's like someone asked about Randy Bennett, and I'm like, Randy Bennett has been at St. Mary's for 22 years.
Let me say this. I think that there are pipe dreams like Jay Wright's a pipe dream. Shaka Smart is totally unreal. He's at home. He's at a basketball school. That's not gonna. You kick the tires, but you expect a no. You know there's gonna be a no with Jay Wright. You're just doing that just to let people know you did it. I don't put Greg McDermott in that category. I don't.
I do. I know.
See, you got to be careful about how things. Here's the nugget that I'll throw. Here's the nugget that I'll throw here. Otzelberger, when he signs his extension, his buyout balloons.
Yeah.
When McDermott signed his extension, his buyout didn't balloon. I'm just saying, if you're going to try and I'm not telling you that it's going to happen. I'm just saying, if you're going to go that route, man, give me let me try for the guy who's been doing it at the higher level as the head guy, and see what he says back to you. But like I said, I'll write about this later.
Kick the tires on Greg McDermott. I think everybody agrees that if Michigan hires Greg McDermott, we get a big thumbs up.
Yeah.
But, it's
one of those, like, make him say no, and then he says no.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess there are levels. Is what I'm trying to say. Is there, these other ones are like, you're just let's just.
Sam, what do you think about John Shire, young up and comer, has a couple of bids in his first 2 years? Think he might be available?
This is not the same. It's not the same. It's not.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
All right.
I do not think
is this because McDermott coached at Wayne State that, like, okay, maybe we can bring him back to the Detroit area? Is that where it's coming from?
I am just saying that there's reason to believe.
All right. I am not going to piss on your dreams, Sam.
Oh, my dream is Dawn Staley. I mean, that's my dream.
Well,
we're talking.
I like
dreams.
that. I like Dawn Staley.
We're talking dreams. Give me Dawn Staley.
Men's and women's basketball are very different sports. I just don't think that would translate.
I don't think it translates for most women. I think it would translate for her.
Well, I mean, it's just, I mean, I've watched women's basketball. And it just doesn't seem like something where it's like, okay, we're going to get to the rim and then we're never ever going to dunk. We're going to try to get a layup. It's just different. Like the mid-range stuff is just different in women's college basketball. It's much more viable because the alternatives aren't as attractive. So it feels like it would be odd, and maybe it would work out, but
I don't know that. I think the biggest hindrance would be the reception, not her acumen. I think she knows ball. I think she is dynamic. I think you're right in that for most women it would be. I think she's a unicorn though. I think that she is her ability to connect with people, the respect she would command from players. I don't think Michigan would do it. To me, this is like when you guys were saying, Michigan should start a union. Like, they weren't going to start a union. I just don't. This is one that I feel like is just unrealistic. This is trailblazing in a way that I don't know that they are gonna want to be involved with as far as
we need
especially coming off the lack of success that they just had with Juwan.
Yeah,
we need some surrogate schools. Like there's I don't remember who belongs to whom and whatnot, but my Georgia friend was telling me that like some of the things that SEC coaches used to do was they'd have like a Sunbelt school where like they can put their assistants like Charlotte for Michigan football, right? Where you can kind of you have an in with them, you have like a lot of connections, you can send your transfers there when they don't work, and they're willing to try some of your wild ideas. And if it works, then you can get a coach from there or whatnot. I don't know if that kind of thing be feasible, but minor leaguing up the
I don't know. The NFL is doing pretty good with Michigan right now, so
yeah. So
all right, they say we're way overdue for a break, so we got to get to this one break of the hour here on our special Michigan, not Michigan, but NCAA tournament breakdown show. So we'll get some of your bracket picks when we come back on the other side. We're live at UTech IT here on the Michigan Insider on Sports Talk 1050 WTK, the ticket.
We're on the radio.
How many?
So
go
breaking
ahead.
Who are you breaking? Breaking is Onyx. You know the list. How do you know the list? Who do you think is on the list breaking? Give us the list if you know the list.
I hope it's Brian Earl.
No, he's saying Tang is number 2 on the list. I don't have Tang as number 2 on the list. Tang's on the list, but I don't have him as number 2 on the list. May number 1. I do think May is number 1 on the list. I do think May is number 1 on the list. So
I'm just a little concerned that, he has this big year last year. He follows it up with the same guys. And I'm just kind of like, is that the coach or is that the guys? And he gets credit for assembling the guys, but, I just like it when you can have a run of sustained success that it's not all the same players. Like at Drake, DeVries has had 4 years where he's been at the top of that league and doing very well for a Drake program that doesn't do that well historically. And so that's a whole set of players that you're turning over and you're still good.
I'm not hating on Tang. I'm not hating on Tang. Why are you saying that? I think Daniel said I'm hating
Daniel.
He said I'm hating on Jerome Tang. I'm not hating on Jerome Tang. I think Jerome Tang is a really, really good coach. I think Jerome Tang to me is he's Tony Elliott, he's Brent Venables. He's the guy who hangs out at a program and has a really good situation and refuses to take a mid-major job and is not going to leave until a Power 5 opportunity comes his way. And then when a Power 5 opportunity comes his way, he goes there and he smashes his first year. And if he doesn't lose 2 key players early in the season, I think he's right back. So I'm not hating on Jerome Tang. I think Jerome Tang is an outstanding coach. So don't pin that on me, Daniel. Don't pin that on me. So, I just like Dusty better. That's all. So what are we talking about? How did this turn into me I am not against Jerome Tang. Good grief.
Craig's the one who wants all of Michigan's old point guards to be on the coaching search here. So why don't we have Daniel Horton coach?
No, I think
Daniel Horton doesn't have a track record.
Yeah.
No offense.
You know, speaking of that, how many actual players does Michigan have right now? I count 4. No, I mean seriously.
No, you're right, but it's just like, I mean, best not to think about it at this juncture.
Okay,
and whoever gets this job is going to be a year 0.
Yeah, I mean, you got Will Cheddar, maybe Namari, Christian Anderson, maybe, and Darrell Brooks, maybe. That is anyone else? That's all.
T-Will has a COVID year if he wants it.
Oh, T-Will has a COVID year if he wants it. Okay.
Right. So yeah, he can come back.
And that's it. That's the list. It seems to me.
Well,
I guess
behoove the next coach to look at the portal judiciously.
Yeah, it's gonna. Right now, though, it's pretty painful.
I wish we had somebody just looking up transcripts right now, because there's a process.
This is going to be a total.
I don't have those access. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance that Doug probably goes even if Juwan comes back. So I think this is going to be a total flip of the roster anyway.
Wait, you said Doug goes even if if he would have come back, he was
I
gone.
think there's there's a good chance he would have went anyway. Yeah. So you couldn't make that be a criteria for your decision. How it was going to affect the roster or the recruiting class. Clearly it wasn't. Yeah. You had to anticipate that being a byproduct. I really think it boiled down to the things that we talked about. There had to be an honest sort of inventory of the issues, and then there had to be a really detailed plan for how to address those issues. And I think things fell apart at the inventory part, the honest inventory part. So moving on.
I mean, one of the questions we really haven't asked yet and should this have been done last year to avoid having to crash the entire, because this is what we were saying. If we don't make the move last year and this doesn't work with Howard, the whole roster's gone.
We're back.
And there we are.
I don't think you can make that move after, being a bubble team after a 1 seed, right? That's not when you make the move, right?
And I agree. In addition to that, if you look at their record last year, they probably lost 8 to 12 games in the last second or the last minutes of the game. I mean, that's an 18 and 16 team that easily could have been something like 22 and 12.
I think there were a lot of concerns after last year. I think there were a lot of concerns about the way that affected the team, and like the fact that like the losing the games late and everything was part of was a problem. But if I agree, you couldn't fire him last year. I just think that it was, if he hadn't been an alum,
stand by,
he wasn't a guy that we liked so much.
See if Brian comes back.
Yeah.
There we go.
He banned himself.
In 5, 4, 3.
And we are back, folks, here on the Michigan Insider Sports Talk 1050 WTKA online at WTK.com. Sam Webb, Ira Weintraub. Right next to me, we're out here live at UTech IT. This is our Tournament Central for years now. I don't know how many years we've been doing this in a row, but this is where we start things out. I'm going to pan the camera around so you can see that bank of TVs right there. That's 9 televisions strong. And when the tournament starts, all the different screens pan to or go to different games. So it is an amazing, amazing setup. But now let's get a little tournament talk in, fellas, and kind of, I don't know if you've gotten your brackets fully filled out. I have not. Hey, we got Buckeyes in here. We got Buckeyes. Wait. Steve Cherry, how you doing, Steve? Hey, and let me promise you, Steve, Tony Alford didn't steal the play.
What up, Blossom?
I promise you that Michigan doesn't have your plays. I promise you they don't have all your signs. I promise you Michigan does not have Chip Kelly's new install. I promise. I'm just take my word for it, okay? I'm just saying. All right, fellas, let's get back on talking some Michigan. Some NCAA tournament. Kind of give me your Final Four. I mean, who from the Big Ten do you have going the farthest? Upset specials. Let's start with you, Brian.
Well, I mean, the farthest I have Purdue. Like, I know that they got knocked out by a 16 last year, but they're more dynamic this year. They have a couple extra guys who can shoot from the perimeter and surround Edey. And whenever you lose to a 16, you win the national championship the next year. That's right. So I got Purdue, and this is not just my affection for Matt Painter as a person and a coach. And then I think I think I'm is Arizona in the same bracket as Purdue? Or is that?
I can't believe he's channeling me.
No, Zona's they're with UConn and Bama or with North Carolina and Bama, I think.
I have Arizona because part of the national championship football and basketball has to be bad corollary is that the teams with players that were going to be at Michigan and then admissions intervened are going to go deep in this tournament. So it's good news for Arizona and Illinois.
Fair.
I like Arizona in that region.
Yeah, I mean, UConn's going to be tough, right? But I'm not going to just pick all chalk like I'm.
UConn's in the other region. They have UNC in there as their one.
Yeah, I like Arizona over North Carolina. As a matter of fact, a really interesting matchup. I want to see, that if Dayton didn't have to play in, I guess it's Salt Lake City, I would really be interested in seeing how Dayton fared against Arizona. Anthony Grant's name is another that has come up, but I just don't see. I mean, it's basically a home game for Nevada. I think it'll be Arizona and Nevada in the second round, and I got Arizona coming out of that region, as a matter of fact. So
yeah, I got Arizona, Purdue, UConn, and then the Houston region is just like,
that's a mess. I ended up with Houston, but I went back and forth so many times. I thought about Kentucky. I thought about James Madison making a run at one point. I was actually like, okay, JMU's going to beat Duke, and then they get Houston. They could upset Houston, and I'm like, what am I doing putting a 12 seed in the Final Four? I can't do this.
No. Yeah, I mean, all right, fine. No to UConn. I got Iowa State coming out of that bracket, Houston. Iowa State, Houston, Arizona, and Purdue. Pretty chalky, but not all ones.
So Purdue, I guess that their guard play, man. I think they're gonna get exposed, those guards, at some point before they make it to the Final Four. They have not played well the last month at all.
They haven't, still Purdue is 29-4. They've lost 2 games, I think, in overtime. And they've been beaten once badly this year. I think Nebraska's at Nebraska was their
Nebraska got them,
yeah, that only team that really got them. And so Brian and I almost never agree on these basketball picks, but I think he's right. And that's scary, but I do like Purdue also. I think you look at their season's work and not just what happened in the last week, and they're really a good team.
I'm looking at their last month. I'm talking about Braden Smith and
Foster Lawyer.
Yeah, Foster. Yeah, Fletcher Lawyer.
Fletcher Lawyer. Yeah.
Foster Lawyer was the state one.
Yeah, and then looking at how they just, I'm thinking about the Farley Dickinson game, how they, Farley Dickinson was able to get up in them, really taxed them as they even brought the ball up court. They couldn't defend, and then they couldn't stay in front of Farley Dickinson's guys. That's not going to happen to them against Grambling. I don't think I think they'll get by Utah State or TCU. But I'm telling you, man, I mean, this has Will Wade making a little mini run and then making his way to Louisville. Am I thinking selfishly so Louisville could take Will Wade and leave Dusty alone? Maybe a little bit. maybe there's a little bit of home cooking.
Well,
in there.
you know,
that's
that's a really good team, and I thought, you know, in terms of a single game, was the best single game I've seen played by a team this year at Chrysler was McNeese. I mean, they really played well, because that was at a time.
Well, Will Wade wasn't coaching them yet.
Is that right?
He was not allowed to yet. Remember, he was serving a 10-game suspension.
Yeah. Okay. I did not know that.
Show cause.
But
so, yeah,
whoever was coaching them then, they played a beautiful basketball.
They were coaching
game.
themselves. They were a bunch of transfers who were like, "Let's just go beat Michigan." You guys are leaving out the team from that bracket though. Creighton, give me the Jays. People are vastly underrating the Big East. I know they lost to UConn a few times this year, but everyone lost to UConn this year. Creighton, I mean, what beats Purdue, right? Is the teams that can just play their guard, like just completely overwhelm their guards. They got a couple tall guards. They got Trey Alexander who can rise up and shoot over guys. They've been shooting badly the last few weeks, and I think that's why people are underrating them. But a lot of their 40% shooters have been shooting 30% lately. I don't think 3-point percentage is, you know, it's random.
Are we sure Will wasn't coaching that game? I know we got to get out of here. Are we sure Will wasn't coaching?
I don't know. I don't know.
Game.
It was a beautiful game by.
It might have been his first game back. It might have been his first game. Yeah.
All right, we need to get out of here, fellas. Hopefully, you have great tournament success. As I got to finish my bracket right now, we got to get out of here and celebrate this Michigan championship with Kevin Van Candle. I'm talking about the Michigan football championship. We hadn't had a chance to celebrate with him, so we're going to do that right now. We're going to pee on some Buckeye urinal cakes and have a good time here. And we'll see you tomorrow on the Michigan Insider on Sports Talk 1050 WTK, The Ticket, the official voice of University of Michigan Sports Ann Arbor, a Cumulus station.
Curious stat
on the radio.
A curious stat on Creighton.